I'm Molly from Good Cookery, and today I'm going to be making traditional fermented sauerkraut in a glass crock. The first step is I'm going to take the leaves off, and we're going to rinse the cabbage. Okay. And I'm going to chop the base off, and we're going to put it in the food processor with the slicer attachment. We're going to chop a chunk off. And this recipe is really simple because it's just cabbage and salt, and it takes time to ferment. So if you have a little bit of time to make it, it's really worth it. I just have 4 sections left here, and you can slice the cabbage by hand instead of using a food processor if you want. It works just as well. That's how I started out doing it. That's the last of the cabbage. So I'm going to take it out and pour it into the bowl. And you can see it makes a good bowlful, but it will break down probably by half the amount when I pound it down with my hands. Okay, so I've separated the cabbage between 2 bowls because the less you have in the bowl that you're going to be pounding, the faster it goes. So I'm just going to divvy up the salt here. I have, for about 4 pounds, just shy of 2 tablespoons of salt. And you want to put that in before you start pounding. Save that for that bowl. And then I'll mix it together first to get the salt in there. And I'm actually going to break up some of the bigger pieces that the slicer missed. And then it's time to start pounding. For those of you that like to improve your basic life support skills, this is where it comes in handy. I prefer CPR form because it goes fastest. And you just pound it. You can use your fists. I've tried using like a meat tenderizer and it doesn't work as well. It's best when you use your hands. You can also knead it. But the main goal is that we want to make the cabbage limp and release its juices. It'll break down easier and ferment. In the summertime, I like to take this out on my deck and do it out there because the warm sun helps break it down faster. Cuts the time almost in half, just by the heat. Okay, the cabbage is limp and wet, and there's a little bit of juice in the bottom of the bowl, just a little. So I'm going to put it in my small crock here. Okay, do the other bowl. Mix it around. And practice our compressions. Okay. Put this into our glass crock. And one of the most important things to a successful fermentation for this sauerkraut is that it has to be covered with liquid. The cabbage in the crock does. So once I have this in the crock, I'm going to keep pounding it with one fist and try and squish the cabbage down and bring the juices up. And sometimes maybe even add a little water, and that's okay. We'll just see how much liquid we get out of this. Just smush it as hard as we can. So I'm about to add a little bit more fluid. I've pounded it down in the crock, trying to eliminate air bubbles. And it's ready for a little bit of purified water. Probably half a cup to a cup. You can see it's totally submerged. And then you can, from here, you can cover it loosely and set it in a place where it can ferment, but I prefer to fill a bread bag with water, twist it, and place it over the sauerkraut to ensure that the sauerkraut or the cabbage stays underwater while it's fermenting below the liquid. So I will fill up the bag, and then I'm going to twist it. I have some saran wrap that I'm going to cover the top with and rubber band it. And then I want to keep this at room temperature, at least 7 days fermenting it, and then we like to let ours sit for around 3 weeks before we eat it. That's the best. And then after you break into it, you want to refrigerate it. Keep it refrigerated after you've opened it and used it. So this is traditional sauerkraut done in a glass crock, and I hope you enjoy making it.